just sitting down, taking care of the ball, hitting big shots when she needs to. There was a couple big threes that Kelsey Mitchell hit in this game, and the Aces couldn't stop her. But if you hold Asia to 20 or below, I guarantee the Fever will win every single game where she has 20 points. And when it comes to the Aces, you just have to make sure that you're not letting Asia go for 40 every single game.
Did the refs actually try to hand this game to Vegas? That's what it looked like. But instead of folding, Kelsey Mitchell dropped 34 points and completely silenced the Aces' home crowd. Indiana's players were hacked, shoved, elbows flying everywhere, but they only got stronger. So how did the Fever flip all the pressure, all the physical play, and all the so-called home court advantage into the biggest upset of the playoffs? Stick around, because this isn't just about Mitchell scoring. It's about what the Aces didn't want you to see.
Of course, we have to talk about Kelsey Mitchell. She has such a level head and she's not easily rattled. She keeps her composure. She plays good defense. She works within her strengths. She has this little running floater that she does. Her court vision opened up. She was hitting the wide open cutters. She takes care of the ball, the perfect backup point guard when Caitlin Clark does come back into the mix.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Imagine rolling into Las Vegas shorthanded, already written off before the ball even tipped, and then leaving the Aces' home floor with a double-digit win. That's exactly what Indiana did, and they didn't just scrape by. They walked in as the underdog, the team nobody thought could stand up to the reigning champs, and then left Vegas fans wondering how the tables turned so fast. At the center of it all was Kelsey Mitchell. She wasn't just efficient, she was electric. She poured in 34 points, slicing through defenders, and every time the Aces thought they had her cornered, she made them pay. The game itself felt like it was tilted against her from the jump. You could see it in the way every bump got overlooked.
Kelsey Mitchell, once again, 34 points this game. She was also a plus 20 on the floor. And Kelsey Mitchell is someone else who stays so composed. She dictates the flow of the game. She dictates the pace for the Fever. And she's stepped into a leadership role, and it's so efficient. But at the same time, like, she's not taking wild shots. She's playing within her game.
Every reach that should have been a foul ignored. Elbows came flying in the paint. Hands were all over her on drives, and whistles somehow leaned towards the Aces. Add the fact that Aya Wilson had just been crowned MVP hours earlier, and the entire arena carried that energy, the spotlight fixed firmly on the home star. Indiana wasn't supposed to spoil that party, but Mitchell clearly had different ideas. Vegas leaned into its physical style. They threw body checks on screens, curled around cuts with hands full of jersey, and tossed in the occasional flop to try and bait easy whistles. It was the kind of game plan meant to frustrate not just shooters, but the rhythm of the opposing team altogether. And honestly, for most players, it would have worked. If Vegas could break Mitchell's composure, then they could break Indiana completely. That was the setup.
But specifically defense, they just couldn't find an answer for Kelsey. They were sending two on her at different times, but the Aces couldn't stop her. I actually don't think that the Aces perimeter, honestly, defense or offense is very good. She stays laser focused. She's also been doing really well on defense, guarding the guards. The Fever were running cutters. Kelsey was making her way to the rim.
But instead of slipping into their trap, Mitchell kept her game simple, pure, and lethal. She answered every cheap shot with a bucket. Mid-range jumpers from the elbow, deep threes that stunned the crowd into silence, and drives straight at the bigs who thought they could scare her off. When a whistle went against Indiana, she shook her head once, then buried the next possession like nothing shook her. You could almost see the frustration building in Vegas fans and players, because Mitchell refused to play the role of rattled underdog. She played like the star that was always overlooked, and in the process, she snatched control of the moment. Her numbers looked insane, sure, but there was more to it. Points can stack up for anyone taking enough shots.
Lexi Hall, again, didn't have a huge scoring game. She had 6 points, but she was the highest plus minus on the court with a plus 24. But Kelsey Mitchell, I mean, she was just finding her spots, getting to her lanes, hitting those open threes, all of the things. And Lexi Hall is somebody we've talked about it a million times. She just makes a difference when she's on the court. And she did that once again for the Fevers.
What made this performance different was the calm on her face every time the arena turned chaotic. While the Aces argued calls or leaned into dramatics after contact, Mitchell just focused on the next look. That composure, that ability to silence not just the defense but the entire building, was the real dagger. She didn't just score, she stripped Vegas of the swagger they carried through the season. Which brings us to the other side of that question. How do you slow down the reigning MVP, especially when it feels like the refs are leaning her way? Wilson came in with the biggest target, expected to dominate and carry Vegas. The Fever didn't scheme to stop her with just one defender, they built a wall.
The kind of shots that Asia was getting were not shots that were right around the rim. They were shots where she was kind of fading away. She was in the paint. And I also thought Bree Turner, once again, Bree Turner to the rescue. Bree Turner did a fantastic job guarding Asia Wilson. Bree Turner can guard her from the high post and make it very, very difficult for her. So once again, I want to shout out Bree Turner.
Every time she touched the ball, they swarmed her into uncomfortable looks. They refused to send her to the line for freebies no matter how much physical play was allowed on the other side. And the result? Wilson looked human. 6 makes on 22 attempts. Shots she drills in practice clanged off the rim because nothing came easy. And when Wilson got stuck in that grind, the entire Vegas offense slowed with her.
Making sure that Asia doesn't get easy looks, but also being cognizant of the fouls. Asia has a great whistle. The keys to this series are the Fever playing with pace, the Fever playing defense the way that they've been playing it. We all know this. She has a really great whistle. And Aaliyah Boston is somebody who is prone to getting in foul trouble.
Possessions that usually flow turned into stalled out ISOs, leading to missed threes and transition chances for Indiana. Suddenly, all that physical pressure from the Aces flipped on them, because those missed attempts gave the Fever more control of tempo. With Mitchell leading the charge on one end and the Fever's wall on defense breaking Vegas' rhythm on the other, the heavy favorites looked rattled. But here's the key point. You can't call this Mitchell's win alone. Yes, her 34 stood taller than anything anyone else offered, but Indiana's defense fed that performance. It turned every Vegas miss into fuel for Indiana's fire. The whole team bought into flipping the pressure back, and instead of cracking, they built a way to swing it into points. That collective effort gave Mitchell the stage to shine, and it's the reason Indiana didn't just hang around. They walked straight out of Vegas with the kind of win that changes how a series feels overnight. This wasn't just Indiana stealing one game. This was the Fever showing the league that the word underdog doesn't apply here anymore. They went into Vegas, handled the MVP, and walked out proving they can control the pace in a supposed mismatch. Now the pressure shifts. Vegas has to show in the next one that they're still the favorite, but Indiana already exposed cracks. The Aces looked rattled, and that spotlight is hotter than ever. So what do you think? Was this just one upset, or are the Fever actually flipping this entire semifinal series? Drop it below.